So I signed up for Transformers Reactivate news whenever it was first announced, and have not gotten any news from them that I can remember since I took that leap. I get online, however, and I see the first update in a long time. The game is cancelled, and development has ended. This is a pretty big blow for me. I have wanted a new, good Transformers game for quite a while. One that I can play with my friends sounds interesting at the very least, and it being free to play meant that when my PS Plus ran out, I would still be able to play with others. I was excited at the prospect of being able to control and customize my favorite Transformers, create them in a way that suits my favorite aspects of them, and take down enemies in a world that the developers could only imagine. From the first cinematic trailer, it had my interest, even if what it was meant to be had nothing in common with that trailer, which did leave me a little afraid once that was made known, but I didn't let that hype die down. I had something to look forward to hope for, that I was practically guaranteed to be able to play for no cost at all. And now, here we are. No gameplay, no development, no reality, no future. This demonstrates not only an issue with Transformers games in general, but also an issue with the gaming industry as a whole. The shift to live service has caused nothing but unrelenting harm to games, game studios, and IPs. Marvel's Avengers had a decent story, but was bogged down by the grindy and repetitive gameplay that turned a lot of people off. Ghost Recon Wildlands, a game I platinumed fairly quickly and had a lot of fun with, was wildly successful, so obviously Ubisoft thought it would be ingenious to throw a number-based loot system into the sequel and turn many people off who were otherwise excited, even though that system literally went against the whole realistic aspect that they were toting the entire time that they were marketing the game. I would know, I freaking pre-ordered it, and I put in the work to get to platinum early before they fixed all these issues. Speaking of Ubisoft, the crew server shut down, and even though it should have been playable entirely offline, now it isn't playable at all. Something Square Enix walked right into when they made Babylon's Fall, a game I platinum with Firecrotch, and have nothing to show for it, which sucks because I did have the gameplay saved, and if anybody for some odd reason has gameplay they are willing to share, let me know, because I was working on a video for the Dad Blame game and now I have no way to make it. Games should be playable offline if they have a story capable of being accomplished on my own. No reason at all for the crew and probably 2015 Need for Speed to be lost to time due to always online requirements that weren't even necessary. Battle Royales come and go. Another thing Ubisoft had to dip their Dad Blame toes in that never lasted. Multiple shooters go down the same route, like X-Defiant, a game I actually enjoyed that only has a little while left to live. Or hero shooters like Concord, that came and went like a fart in the wind. Developers who are used to making games that are solid and story-based are being forced out of their comfort zones for multiplayer money. Then we get disasters like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Anthem, Redfall, Skull and Bones, and more middling experiences such as Gotham Knights. Now, here we are, with games being commonly cancelled before they can even get up and get going, causing entire studios to shut down without ever even making their first game, regardless of the talent behind them. Gone are the days of physical media, and emphasis is placed on digital. So now, Call of Duty can release discs that have as much data on them as coasters, making the entire idea of media preservation entirely obsolete. I just downloaded the new Avatar Blue People Navi game, and even though it's literally a freaking offline experience, the game data isn't actually on the disc, so it technically cannot actually be played unless you have internet, which is absolutely wild to me, given Red Dead Redemption 2 can be installed from discs and played with no problem at all. I am so tired of how backwards the gaming industry is going. showing. How much we just let crap like this slide, how little gamers are willing to stand up, and how idiotic it is to attack the ones that do. And yet that's what happens more times than not. I am tired of female characters being created to look like they were originally men. I am tired of characters being changed to look far different than they did in prior games because they are afraid of men finding them attractive.
Dressing them in heels is clearly a decision rooted in sexualized aesthetic pleasure rather than believability. In fact, animating so many female characters in games to fit into this very gendered, sexualizing walk pattern is an example of one of the ways the male gaze manifests in video games. The male gaze manifests when the camera takes on a perspective of a stereotypical heterosexual man. An indisputable example of this is when the camera lingers, caresses, or pans across a woman's body, although it's not always that obvious. In games, it can be as simple as the in-game camera resting so that a character's butt or breasts or both are center-line. It can be a cutscene that rests on a woman's butt. It can be clothing that they are wearing or the way they talk, or it can be as basic as the way a female character moves around the game world. The male gaze reinforces the notion that man looks and the woman is looked at. Eradicating the male gaze is not as simple as introducing an inverse female gaze that sexualizes men either. Not just because equal opportunity sexual objectification isn't the answer, but also because it isn't actually equal. One reinforces pre-existing oppressive ideas about women that are real and damaging to women in their everyday lives. The other doesn't reinforce anything. When male characters are depicted as shirtless or wearing little clothing, like the character sometimes dubbed Hot Ryu from Street Fighter V, their lack of clothing demonstrates their power and strength, rather than depicting them as erotic playthings or reducing them to sexualized body parts.
Don't stop, we're in luck now. Don't stop, keep your spirit proud. And ride up on the wind, all we have to do is go. Don't stop, we're in luck now. Don't stop, there's so much to be found. We can't find paradise, all we have to do is go.
Like MJ and Spider-Man, Aloy and Horizon, it is wild given they are main characters of a game that already exists and have a set way to look from those games. I'm tired of femininity in females and masculinity in men being treated as a bad thing. This isn't equality, it is discrimination. So is diversity in games for the sake of it, in moments where it is obviously not the wisest choice, like, I don't know, an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan where the main character isn't even Japanese, or an assassin in an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan. How did we go from a DLC from Black Flag with a black character that was so good and so loved that it was later released as its own standalone game apart from the original game that it came with, to where Assassin's Creed is today? No wonder we've got so many freaking delays. I don't even know what number we're on now until Shadows comes out. Or how about we talk about taking characters who originally had straight romance lines in the first game.
I could use someone like you at my side.
I don't think either you or I are ready for that. At least, not yet.
And then giving them a gay relationship in the second game, instead of, I don't know, just making a different character who is a good character, but guess what? They just happen to be gay. Crazy thought, I know. I am tired of remakes and remasters that don't truly change anything, or aren't truly important to have at all. We didn't need a remaster of The Last of Us Part 2.
The stitching in her clothing is similarly more detailed here, though not necessarily across the board, as these larger details, like the tear on her thigh, do look just about the same. When zoomed in extremely close, there are a few more small details that could be isolated, including less pixelation to various small hair cards along her eyes and brows, a clearer iris in her eyes, and more defined textures for things like her lips and freckles.
We didn't need Spider-Man from Insomniac's game to look more like Tom Holland after the original character has his own full game, just so the game can then have a remaster. I am tired of PlayStation raising the price of PS Plus to ungodly amounts of money when Steam is free besides a purchase of something, and Epic Games is free and also gives free games as well, making the PS Plus free games pretty pointless, especially when games run arguably worse on PS5 than PC. PC the majority of the time, and there are less games to choose from in general on PS5, so there's another demerit. But sure, charge me $80 a year because it's totally worth it when all my friends are moving to PC because of this decision. I am tired of games having stupid logins and signups to unrelated websites and accounts in order to play the dang game. I got Payday 3 for PlayStation 5, but guess what? I couldn't play it with my PlayStation account alone. Oh no, I had to waste time creating an account I'll probably never use for anything else just to get into the game, which makes it another game that'll die the moment the server shut down. Wonderful. I am tired of microtransactions that are egregious and overpriced, like a year subscription for pay-to-win bonuses in Albion Online, or the Killzone gear in Helldivers 2 that I had to give up the chance of a battle pass to get a portion of, since I'm not putting money into a game that costs $40 already and costs $80 a year for PS Plus just to be able to be played anyway. Don't even get me started on battle passes and live service junk in a single-player game. Again, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. I'm tired of establishing IPs betraying their identity and practically insulting their fanbase because all of a sudden they feel compelled to take some kind of moral high ground by taking political stances and shoving it down your throat. The most personal example for me being the Saints Row remake that has probably ruined any future the franchise could have actually ever had. Which sucks, because I like Saints Row. Even Saints Row got out of hell. I know, unpopular, shoot me. I'm tired of anime games mostly being logged as either a visual novel or an arena fighter, neither being too creative, usually squandering the potential of the show that they are based on, and mishandling the characters and setting that they have to work with, sometimes not even being creative in the slightest, using still frames from the show as cutscenes, and having floaty bare-bone controls that leave a lot to be desired. Looking at you, Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash. I am tired of massive file sizes because games have to copy off the disc. The games don't have much of the game on the discs. Games release broken and unfinished, and then need a ton of updates that bloat the size. And Call of Duty can't optimize their games to save their frickin' life, and seem to be competing with themselves on making the biggest game ever to download. Especially when it's nowhere near as good as games with smaller and yet similar sizes. I could complain until my heart gives out. But I originally wanted to talk about Transformers Reactivate, and I have no idea how I got to where we are now. It's kinda crazy how things just keep getting worse over time, and every time anyone complains, people belittle those complaints and then those people that are complaining by making it seem like everybody's overreacting instead of seeing that the decline gets worse the longer we let it go. Stop attacking each other and recognize the problem that some may have. Recognize that the person is a person that has the problem, and that, guess what, Buttercup, you are a person no different than them. The inability to see both sides of this just causes division between gamers that isn't necessary and makes no difference at all. Everyone that pretends to love the games that are universally hated because of the political or socio-political aspect of said games never actually buy and play the games themselves. So the fighting online never actually translates to supporting your cause, which makes the fighting online actually pointless. So the thing I hate most about the gaming industry is how it has tore us all apart in ways that could simply be resolved by a simple, calm, and clean conversation. So in the comments below, keep your words friendly and your points precise, and actually conversate about what you believe and why you believe it. The tone you set is what will be returned, but for me, please set a good one. I want the video game industry and its practices to change, but that is only going to occur if we can all stand together as gamers and cause change to occur by our actions, both alone and together. Vote with your wallets, vote with your choices, vote with your time, and vote with your voices. We can change the hobby, the entertainment that we love. All it takes is a little bit of effort. Sorry that this devolved into a frickin' rant and I never actually talked about Transformers Reactivate, but I mean, you pretty much could figure out how I feel about the game shutting down by everything I said. I hope anyway. This is just gonna become a video about the video games industry, it seems to be, so So yeah, thank you for sticking around this long. Like if you like it, dislike if you didn't, and for more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day. Thank you.